This is a follow-up talk to the last one. I had to take the cat off and redo this process because it was so dirty. I didn't get it all cleaned. This time I did. Spoiler alert, it worked. Car works great. Anyway, sodium hydroxide is the key thing to get it out. I use Drano because it's cheap and has gel in it, so it kind of gets sticky. And then acetic acid is what cleans out the soot. You do not mix them. Don't mix them together. You use the sodium hydroxide, then you clean it out with water really well, then you add the acetic acid. So you can see I put some plastic wrap over the end with some rubber bands. I ended up using a little bungee because the rubber bands weren't really strong enough. Then you turn it over, and I'm pouring the hydroxy, liquid plumber, in on the one end. Now, I am an air pollution physicist, so the idea of plugging a hole in the catalytic converter doesn't really fit with me, but I do know a little bit about industrial air pollution control. So there is ways of fixing these things, and our cars are already pretty expensive. The idea of dropping another $1,000-some on a CARB catalytic converter, or if you live in a state like that doesn't require CARB, you can get a cheaper EPA version. Still, it's kind of expensive, so if you can clean it out, that's good. See here, you can see I use a little bungee because the rubber bands weren't really strong enough. And even when you clean it out with the water and then you pour in the vinegar, you'll still see a good bit of bubbling there because there's still sodium hydroxide down in the cat. But the goal is to get it mostly cleaned out with water because you don't want the acetic acid and the sodium hydroxide to react with each other. You want them to react with the dirt inside the cat. And over here I blow it out with a blower, the air compressor after it's done, and then you can see it looks how much cleaner it looks. That's pretty clean. And then I'll turn it over, put a little saran wrap and a hose clamp on the other end, make sure the O2 sensor port is blocked up, and spray, you see I made a little hole there, and then spray compressed air down in there. That'll push the water through all these little thin openings. I don't really have a problem if people live in states who don't want to use a catalytic converter and straight pipe it, but a well-working catalytic converter can help. I think that the problem now is that they've just gotten so expensive. There's people who just don't have a lot of means who can't really afford to just go buy another one at the drop of a hat. So it's important to know reasonably how to clean it. If you stayed with me on this video for all 3 minutes, I know it's been a good investment of your time, but hopefully some of this has helped. I've put a lot of hours into researching how to clean these things and what works and what doesn't. I know there's a lot of things like using soap and all that, but a lot of that soot and grease is in there pretty well, and those little holes in the catalytic converter are pretty small. They need a pretty decent chemical reaction. Don't forget to clean out your oxygen sensor. I did that here. You shove it back in the hole, you mount it up. It's hard as hell. The springs make it difficult. On the center, I'm able to get to the whole thing from the bottom. But regardless, I hope this helped. And if you clean out your catalytic converter, try that method. Please don't mix them together. It's hydrochloric